Today let us see three side-based stories from Wayside School by Louis Sachar. Louis Sachar is an American author well known for his contributions to children's literature, and he has also won the Newbery Medal award given by the American Literary Society. And in this story, something is particular about the Wayside School. That is, instead of he is talking about the peculiar and amusing happenings in Wayside School, and this is a 30-story building accidentally built sideways. That is, instead of having floors, they have stories, floors. And here we have three stories in this collection. This is on stage. It is done by Aaron Shepard. And here in the first story we come across the boy named Joe, and he wants the recess bell goes on. He wants to go for recess, and the Mrs. Jewels, she stops him, not allowing him to go for that, because this boy has got a problem with counting. What is his problem? He will always, in counting, he will always gets the correct answer, but he is not able to proceed it correctly. And the teacher wants to correct him. Even the procedure, the way he counts, she wants to correct that. So she says, I am not sending you for recess, you stay here. And here she starts with saying that you tell me from first count to 10. And he tells 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this boy, even in counting, he says 6, 8, 10, 9, 10, 11, 10, 3, 5. Then finally he ends 10, like that he says. And the miss says, no, you are totally wrong. You are not supposed to tell it like this. You have to start from 1, 2, 3, like that. And he says, no ma'am, I got it 10 to 10. I want to go for recess. He says, no, you are not going. And then what happens? The teacher puts 5 pencils and asks him to do the counting. And he counted the pencils. 4, 6, 1, 9, 5, he says. He gives the correct answers, but he is always counting it wrong. And he says, the boy is asking, how many pencils are there, ma'am? And the teacher says 5. I told you 5, so you allow me to go for recess. And the teacher says, no, you are getting the right answer, but you are not counting it correctly. The counting is wrong. You are counting in a wrong way. So here, just fortunate to give the correct answer. So you go it correctly. That is what I want you to do it. That is what the teacher says. And the boy says, again the teacher brings in potatoes. You count the potatoes. He counted 7, 5, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. 8 potatoes, ma'am. And ma'am says, yes, there are 8. But why do you start with 7, 5, 3? Why do you go like that? And he says, you got the correct answer, no ma'am, and I want to go for recess, he says. The teacher says, no, nothing doing. You count it in the correct way. Again and again you are giving it in the incorrect manner, incorrect way. And she puts down 3 books. Count the books, she says. Joe counted the books. He says, 1,000 million, 3 Mrs. Jewels. Oh, it's correct. She's bewildered. And may I go for recess? He says. And this boy says, ma'am says, no. You just pay attention to me. You first tell me from 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, like that. You have to say it correctly. And this boy says it correctly. She says, very good. Now you are telling it correctly, exactly. And now she is putting erasers to count. She says, you count and tell me how many erasers are here. And he counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 Mrs. Jewels, he says. And the teacher says, no. Didn't I count rightly, ma'am? He is asking. And she says, you counted right. Now you have counted right, but you have got the incorrect answer. There are no 10 erasers. And here Joe says, oh, I don't know what to do. It doesn't make any sense at all. Why do you say that? Why I always count the wrong way and get the right answer? But when I count it correctly, I am not getting the right answer. And the teacher is in great frustration. And then he says she's hitting her head against the wall 5 times. Her head, and she's asking, turning and asking, how many times did I hit at the wall? Tell me, Joe. And he says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you have hit 10 times. No, the teacher says, and then Joe says, he's counting in the wrong way. 4, 6, 10, 9, 4, 5 times, ma'am. And then Mrs. Joe shook her head and says, you are counting wrongly, but the answer is correct. And then she says, okay, that's right. The bell rang, the recess time is over, you go, she said. So, and this boy is very sad that he has missed his recess time. This is the first story. Joe counting wrongly, but giving the correct answer. The teacher tried to check him, correct him, but she met with failure. She couldn't change the boy's counting, though he is able to count correctly, not able to give the correct answer. So she just left him as he is, couldn't mend him, change him. And the second story is about an interesting thing, art class. They have art class from 12:30 to 1:30. And here again the teacher is Mrs. Jules, and 2 main characters are BB and Kelvin. Kelvin is not interested in art drawing. So what happens, it takes a long time for him to draw even a small cat. The whole hour he has to spend to draw only one cat. But BB is very much interested in drawing, and she's a very fast artist. That is the word that is given by the author is she's incredibly unbelievably very fast in drawing. That is, she would, before this boy finishes one, she will draw plenty of cats and other things. So what happens, this boy decides, Kelvin decides to be her assistant during that class. In that way he shows his interest. BB would finish one masterpiece after another. He will go and take the paper, give her new fresh sheet to draw on. If the crayon is over, he will get her crayons. Like this he used to help her, and she is able to draw a lot, even 5 or 6 aeroplanes and so many cats. And he will be always ready with a crayon and a paper for her to do her work. But what happens, one day she has drawn such a lot, nearly 300 pictures. BB, it is really wonderful, and this boy Kelvin is very happy that because of his help she is able to do it fast. So he is very happy to help this girl. Nearly 300 pictures were drawn of cats, aeroplanes, flowers and other things. Immediately he was supplying her paper and crayons, and very fast. And when she asks for blue crayon or red crayon or anything, immediately she draws fish, apple, cherries, and it is nearly 1:30. That is, art class is over, 1 hour, 12:30 to 1:30 it is over, and the ma'am says, Mrs. Jules says it's over, and he's very shocked to see BB had drawn nearly 378 pictures by the end of the hour. 378 pictures, and just he has kept as a pile on Kelvin's desk. And Mrs. Jules asked, did you draw all that? Kelvin said, no ma'am, I didn't draw. Of course I helped BB, and she has drawn this. And Kelvin says, Jules says, are you not interested in art? Yes ma'am, I am interested, but I show my love for art by helping BB. How did you do that, ma'am asked. And he says the whole period, even if I do the drawing, I can draw only one cat. But whereas Bibi can draw hundreds of pictures, and when we both work together, she can draw wonderful thing. She was able to complete nearly 378 pictures. So that's wonderful, ma'am. That's lot more art, and quantity is more. And they both, Bibi and Kelvin, shake hands, and teacher says, this is the important message that we have to take. She says that you can't measure art by the quantity or the number of pictures that you draw. You have to judge it only by the quality, is how worthy the pictures are. That is very important. You can spend, we have come across so many people who have spent their whole lifetime drawing one single picture, but whereas if you draw a lot also, you cannot become, that is, it is not worthy or valuable. So as far as art is concerned, quality is more important than quantity. So immediately you can draw even 2 million cats, but it's not worth. Yes, it's not worth. Even if you draw only one in your lifetime, that will be very important. And Bibi became very annoyed by this, and she took all the papers, threw it in the garbage bin, and she decides. That is, though she was frustrated and angry about the comment, she decides rightly. She's a good artist also. She decides not to depend on quantity. So she takes the pile of papers and throws it into the garbage bin, and then she tells the teacher, she says, I am not going to draw now. She says, I am going, she meets the 9-year teacher and Louis, and he's asking, what are you going to do, Bibi? She says, I am going to draw a cat. How long will you take? She says, I am going to start tomorrow. Will you show it to me tomorrow? The teacher asks, Louis teacher asks, 9th floor teacher. And she says, tomorrow? No. I may take a very long time. Tomorrow I think I will finish only the whiskers of the cat. So the second story stresses on the point that quantity in art, more than quantity, quality is important. And Bibi understands that, and she decides to start her painting. The next day she decides to paint a cat, draw a cat. So that is the second story. And third story is again Mrs. Jewels. She calls Kelvin, and she says, you have to go and meet Miss Jarvis. Miss Jarvis, you have to give her a note, and she leaves off. And this she asks Kelvin, where is she? She is in the 9th floor, he says. Then you pass the message, you give the note to her, deliver it and come. And this boy says, there is no 19th story in the 19th floor in the whole building. But what happens, he just runs up and he goes to the 18th floor, and then next floor is 20th. They have completely forgotten to build or to give 19 to any floor. So no 19th floor. Then ma'am asked me to go to that 19th floor, and there 18th and 20th. And then he wonders, is there anybody called Jars, Miss Jars in our school? No Miss Jars. And then he thought he can put that message note in the admin block. He comes down, he searches for a box, and he post box, and he thinks that he can deliver the post the letter in that box. But what happens, there is no note at all, no note to be passed on. He wonders, no note, no Miss Jars, and no 19th floor. How can I do all that? He is wondering like that. At that time, this Mrs. Jewels, she comes and she says, thank you, Kelvin. I actually sent a note to Miss Jazz to say don't come for lunch. So she didn't come. And he's wondering, there was no note, no Miss Jarvis, no 19th floor. How was that? And ma'am is thanking him for all that. And he's wondering still. It's only Calvin says she must be playing a game, and then Calvin came outside. Somehow he says, okay, problem is solved. Anyhow, no lunch and no Jarvis, so no problem. We need not worry about it. He comes down, he meets Louis, and then he leaves the place. And the narrator there, he says that, so in the Wayside School, some people tell such stories which are very strange and silly. That we have to remember, strange and silly stories. This is only to entertain the students, the younger kids. And here he says that Wayside School, we hear many such stories which are very strange and silly. So this is how Louis Sachar tells stories for children. Wayside, this collection is called Wayside School, and from that collection we have got 3 stories. Main characters, Joe in the first one, Joe and Mrs. Jewels, and second story, Mrs. Jewels again with Joe and Calvin and Bibi, and third story again we have Calvin and Mrs. Jewels. Thank you one and all. It's only children's literature, only for enjoyment. We should not seek any moral or any heavy theme. It's only to entertain them. They themselves say that it is strange and silly. Thank you one and all. Thank you for listening.